Life has a strange way of bringing back the past. Sometimes it's in the form of a memory that flashes in your mind. Sometimes it's a photograph that falls from an old drawer. And sometimes the past doesn't whisper. It stands right in front of you. This is exactly what happened to Ibrahim Traoré. Today, the world knows him as a leader, a man with courage in his eyes and determination in his voice, a man who rose against the odds and became a symbol of resistance, hope, and power. But behind every powerful man, there is a story that the world does not see. Behind the speeches, the cameras, and the headlines, there is a young boy who once sat in a classroom, a boy who once had nothing but dreams, a boy who once shared laughter, food, and promises with a friend who meant the world to him. Yes, before the world called him president, before the people called him leader. He was just Ibrahim, a student, a dreamer, and a friend. Now imagine this. After years of rising to power, years of battles and challenges, Ibrahim is walking down the street one quiet afternoon. No crowd, no security, no ceremony, just a man walking. And suddenly his eyes fall upon someone, a face he thought he had lost to time. Older, weaker, but unmistakable. It was him, the same boy who once sat beside him in class, the same boy who once whispered during lessons, the same boy who once dreamed with him under the stars. An old school friend who had vanished from his life for decades. Now he was right there, standing in front of him. Think about this. If you were in his shoes, what would you do? Would you ignore him because you are now important? Busy, too powerful to look back? Would you pretend not to recognize him because life has changed too much? Or would you stop? Would you smile? Would you reach out? This was the moment Ibrahim faced. A moment where power met humility, where memory met reality, and where the true heart of a man was revealed. Because what Ibrahim did next shocked everyone. It wasn't planned. It wasn't rehearsed. It came from the deepest part of his soul. The people who witnessed it could not believe their eyes. Some were moved to tears. Others stood in silence. And the world, when it heard the story, realized that greatness is not in crowns or titles. Greatness is in humanity. This is the story of Ibrahim Traoré and his old school friend. A story of friendship, a story of loyalty, a story of how the past always finds its way back to us. And today, as you listen to this story, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Where is your old friend now? The one you laughed with in school, the one you shared your lunch with, the one you promised to never forget. Life is short, power fades, money disappears. But the bonds we build in childhood, the loyalty we show in moments of struggle, and the kindness we offer when nobody else cares, those are the things that last forever. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes I will take you on a journey back into Ibrahim's childhood, through the dusty classrooms, the innocent laughter, the struggles, the separation, and finally, the reunion that no one saw coming. A reunion that would teach the world a lesson. Because when Ibrahim Traoré found his old school friend, you won't believe what he did. Life after school was never easy. For many children in Ibrahim Traoré's community, the classroom was only the beginning of a much harder journey. Some would continue their studies, while others were pulled into the harsh realities of survival, working in fields, carrying loads in markets, or struggling to put food on the table. Ibrahim, however, was not an ordinary boy. He carried in his heart something that set him apart, an unshakable determination. From the very beginning, he believed he was meant for something greater, not out of pride, but out of responsibility. He had seen poverty. He had seen the hunger in his family's eyes. He had seen how hard his parents worked and yet struggled to provide. And he had promised himself, one day I will rise, and I will make sure no child feels this pain again. A journey through struggle. The road to greatness is never paved with gold. It is built with sweat, sacrifice, and sleepless nights. Ibrahim's life was no different. He studied harder than most of his classmates, often reading under the dim light of a lantern because electricity was a luxury. When others rested, he wrote notes, memorized lessons, and pushed himself beyond limits. But life tested him. There were times when he almost gave up. Times when the burden of poverty felt heavier than his own body. Times when he wished his old friend was still beside him, sharing bread, sharing dreams, reminding him of the promise they once made under the sunset. That memory kept him going, choosing the path of discipline. I hope one day I will see my friend again. Little did he know, that day was closer than he thought. As Ibrahim grew, he realized that knowledge alone was not enough. His country, his people, needed leaders who were disciplined, fearless, and ready to defend what was right. So he chose the path of the military. It was not an easy decision. The military demanded sacrifice, waking up before dawn, marching under the burning sun, carrying weights that broke weaker men. But Ibrahim endured. His heart was strong. His will was unshakable. In the barracks, he learned not only how to fight, but also how to lead. He learned that a leader does not stand above others, but stands with them. He learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the strength to keep moving despite it. And deep inside, he carried the face of his childhood friend, the boy who had once told him, "One day you will be a leader." The making of a leader. As the years passed, Ibrahim's discipline, intelligence, and courage set him apart. He climbed ranks slowly but surely. He became known for his honesty, his refusal to be corrupted, and his vision of a better tomorrow. While others sought power for themselves, Ibrahim sought power for his people. While others sought wealth, he sought justice. While others built walls, he built bridges. He became the kind of man people trusted, the kind of leader people prayed for. And yet, with every achievement, every victory, every step closer to greatness, a shadow followed him. A shadow in the form of a question, "Where is my friend now? Does he even know what I have become? Does he still remember me?" At night, when the world was asleep, Ibrahim would sometimes sit alone, staring into the darkness. He would remember the boy who once shared his food, who once lifted him when he was down, who once promised to never let him be alone. And he wondered, was he safe? Was he alive? Or had life swallowed him in its cruel silence? The pain of absence, fame, recognition, and power did not erase the emptiness. Ibrahim often stood before cheering crowds, thousands chanting his name, banners raised high in the air. But in those moments of glory, his heart whispered, "I wish my old friend could see this. I wish he were here." Because greatness means nothing if the people who mattered most are not beside you to share it. It is a truth many of us feel but rarely admit. What good is success if your childhood friend is not there to laugh with you about it? What good is power if you cannot turn to the one who believed in you when you had nothing? Ibrahim carried that weight in silence. The world celebrated him, but he carried a quiet sorrow no one could see. Reflection to the audience. And here, once again, the story touches us all. Think about your own life. You may be growing, succeeding, moving forward. But somewhere in the shadows of your memory, there are faces you have lost along the way, friends you once thought would never leave, people you once swore you would never forget. But life happened. Work happened. Distance happened. And now you may sit in silence sometimes, asking yourself, where are they now? Do they still remember me? Or am I just a forgotten chapter in their story? This is the pain Ibrahim carried for years. The pain of absence. The pain of not knowing. The turning point. But destiny never forgets. Just as Ibrahim carried the memory of his old friend, somewhere in another part of the country, perhaps in a small house, perhaps in the midst of struggle, his friend carried the memory of him. Two souls bound by loyalty, separated by time, but still walking the same earth, breathing the same air under the same sky. And the universe, in its mysterious way, was preparing a reunion. A reunion that would remind the world that no matter how far we rise, no matter how much time passes, true friendship never dies. And so Ibrahim's rise was not just the rise of a leader. It was the rise of a man who carried the weight of friendship, memory, and loyalty in his heart. Every step he took, every battle he fought, every speech he gave, there was always a quiet whisper in his soul, the unexpected encounter. Life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. Sometimes it gives us victories. Sometimes it tests us with struggles, and sometimes it returns to us a piece of the past we thought was gone forever. For Ibrahim, that moment came on a quiet afternoon. It was not a day of celebration. There were no cameras, no speeches, no soldiers standing in line. It was one of those rare days when a man of responsibility walked simply as a human being, without titles, without attention, without the heavy crown of leadership pressing down on his head. The air was calm. The sun was soft. And Ibrahim walked down the street, almost lost in thought. He thought of his people, of his duties, and as always, somewhere deep in his heart, he thought of his old friend. And then, it happened, a familiar face in the crowd. From the corner of his eye, Ibrahim noticed a man standing near the roadside. At first, it was nothing unusual, just another face in the busy rhythm of daily life. But something about that face pulled at his memory. Something about the way the man stood, the way his eyes carried both strength and sadness, stirred something deep inside him. He slowed his steps. He looked again. The man was older now. His clothes were worn. His face carried wrinkles, not only of age, but of hardship. His hands looked tired, scarred from years of labor. His eyes, though weary, held a spark Ibrahim could never mistake. It was him, the boy from the dusty classroom. The boy who once shared his bread. The boy who once made him promise never to forget. His old school friend. Time stands still. For a moment, time itself seemed to freeze. The noise of the street faded. The movement of the crowd slowed. It was as if the universe had paused, giving these two men, once boys sitting side by side, a chance to recognize each other after years of silence. Ibrahim's heart raced. Memories rushed back like a flood. The laughter under the tree. The whispered answers during exams, the shared meals, the promise made at sunset. And now here he was. But he was not the boy Ibrahim remembered. Life had changed him. Poverty had weighed on him. Struggles had bent his shoulders. His eyes carried a story of survival. Still, it was him. The friend's hesitation. The old friend saw Ibrahim too. At first, disbelief washed over his face. Could this truly be the same Ibrahim? The boy he once studied with? The boy he once believed in? Now he was a leader, a man with the world's eyes on him. How could he approach him? How could a man dressed in old clothes, with calloused hands and worn-out shoes, walk up to a leader of a nation? Shame held him back. His heart whispered, "He won't remember me. He is important now. I am nothing compared to him." So he stood still, frozen between recognition and fear. Between the urge to greet his old friend and the fear of being dismissed. Ibrahim's decision. And this is where the true measure of Ibrahim's heart was revealed. Because in that moment, Ibrahim did not see the ragged clothes. He did not see the tired face. He did not see the years of distance. He saw the boy who once gave him food when he was hungry. He saw the boy who once believed in him when no one else did. He saw his brother. Without hesitation, Ibrahim stopped walking. He turned fully toward the man. The crowd watched, confused. Some whispered, "Why is he stopping? Who is that man?" And then Ibrahim walked forward. The reunion. The old friend lowered his gaze, unsure of what to do. But before he could say a word, Ibrahim did something that silenced everyone. He opened his arms wide and embraced him. It was not a formal handshake. It was not a polite nod. It was a hug, deep, strong, filled with years of memory, loyalty, and unspoken words. The people around them gasped. Some could not believe their eyes. Others felt tears rising, because in that single embrace, Ibrahim had broken the walls of power and status. He had shown the world that at the heart of a true leader lies humanity, words that moved hearts. With his arm around his friend's shoulder, Ibrahim whispered, "How could I forget you? You once gave me your bread when I had nothing. Today, let me share my strength with you." His friend's eyes filled with tears. His voice trembled as he replied, "I never thought you would remember me, Ibrahim. I never thought." After all these years, Ibrahim smiled softly. "Brother, I would not be here today if it weren't for the kindness you showed me back then. The world may see me as a leader, but to me, I am still that boy from the classroom. And you are still my friend." The shocking reunion. Life writes stories no one can predict. For Ibrahim Traoré, that story unfolded on an ordinary day. He was walking quietly, away from cameras, away from the noise of politics, just a man on the street. And then he saw him, a familiar face. Older, weaker, but unforgettable. It was his old school friend. The boy who once shared books with him. The boy who once dreamed with him under the stars. Now standing in front of him after decades. For a moment, time froze. Two worlds collided, one of power, one of simplicity. And then, Ibrahim did something no one expected. He stopped. He smiled. He reached out and embraced his old friend. No titles, no bodyguards, just two boys reunited after a lifetime. Witnesses were stunned. Some cried. Others whispered. And the world, when it heard, learned one powerful truth. Greatness is not about power. It's about remembering where you came from. This was the shocking reunion of Ibrahim Traoré and the friend he never forgot. The reunion face to face. Imagine standing in front of someone you once called a brother. After years of silence, after life pulled you in opposite directions. That's exactly what happened to Ibrahim Traoré. He didn't just see his old friend from afar. This time, they stood face to face. No crowd mattered. No cameras mattered. It was just two souls, remembering a past only they understood. For a moment, neither spoke. Their eyes carried the weight of lost years, the laughter, the struggles, the promises of youth. And then, words finally broke the silence. Simple, genuine. It's been a long time, my brother. In that instant, power disappeared. One was not a leader, the other not a forgotten man. They were simply friends, face to face, heart to heart. Those who watched were stunned. Because in a world obsessed with status, Ibrahim showed something greater. He showed humanity. This was more than a meeting. It was a reminder. True friendship never dies, it only waits. For the day you meet again face to face. The reunion moment. There are moments in life that time itself seems to pause for. When Ibrahim Traoré looked into the eyes of his old school friend, it wasn't just a meeting, it was the moment. The noise around them faded. The crowd, the cameras, the chaos, nothing mattered. All that existed was two souls, reconnecting after years of distance. For Ibrahim, this was not about power, politics, or position. It was about remembering who he was. Before the world called him a leader, that handshake, that embrace, it wasn't ordinary. It carried memories, laughter, struggles, and an unspoken promise. No matter how far life takes us, friendship survives. Everyone watching could feel it. Because this wasn't just Ibrahim's moment. It became a moment for all of us. A reminder of the friendships we've lost, the people we miss, and the hope of meeting again. The unexpected reaction. No one could have predicted what happened next. As Ibrahim embraced his old school friend, people expected a formal smile, a quick handshake, and then moving on. But what followed shocked everyone. Tears. Yes, tears rolled down the eyes of a man who carried the weight of an entire nation. The strong, unshaken leader, suddenly vulnerable before the world. The crowd froze. Silence filled the air. Because this wasn't the reaction of a president. This was the reaction of a friend, a brother, a human being. And his friend, he held on tightly, as if saying, I'm still here. I never left. The unexpected reaction became the loudest message. It told millions watching that real power is not in ruling others. Real power is in feeling, in remembering, in staying human, no matter how high you rise. The gift of loyalty. Friendship can fade with time, but true loyalty, it never dies. As Ibrahim sat with his old school friend, a simple gesture spoke louder than any words. His friend, who had no riches, no fame, no position, offered something far greater, the gift of loyalty. He reminded Ibrahim of the days when they had nothing but each other. No titles, no cameras, just two boys dreaming of a better future. And in that moment, Ibrahim realized, loyalty is the rarest gift of all. It cannot be bought. It cannot be demanded. It is given freely, from one heart to another. The world saw a leader receiving honor, but Ibrahim knew he was receiving something far greater, a reminder that no matter how high you rise, the people who stood by you in the beginning are the ones who define your true worth. The reunion wasn't just between two old friends. It was a message, a powerful lesson for millions watching. In a time when people chase wealth, power, and status, Ibrahim showed the world something different. That success means nothing if you forget the people who helped you on the way. His humble embrace, his emotional tears, and his friend's loyalty all became a silent lecture louder than any speech. It reminded the world that leadership is not about distance. It's about connection. It's not about being served. It's about remembering where you came from and who walked beside you. For some, it was just a reunion. But for those who understood, it was a timeless lesson on humanity, friendship, and the power of staying true. The legacy of friendship. Every story has an ending, but some endings become a beginning for others. Ibrahim's reunion with his childhood friend was not just a personal moment. It became a legacy. A legacy that taught us that true greatness lies not in crowns, not in power, but in the ability to remain humble and loyal to your roots. Years may pass, faces may change, but the bond of friendship built on trust and loyalty is stronger than time itself. And so the world will remember not just the leader Ibrahim Traoré, but the man who proved that no matter how high you rise, you are never too great to honor the friend who once stood by your side. This was more than a reunion. This was history, a story of loyalty, humanity, and the timeless power of friendship. And that was the story of Ibrahim Traoré's shocking reunion with his old school friend, a moment that touched millions and reminded us that true greatness is not measured by power, but by loyalty, humility, and friendship. If this story inspired you, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button, because more powerful stories are coming your way. This was not just history. This was a lesson for life. Stay connected, stay inspired, and never forget those who stood with you when you had nothing.